भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 15, Text number 26. Tat Vishwaguru Adhikrutam Bhuvana Eka Vandyam. Tad Vishwaguru Adhikrutam Bhuvana Eka Vandyam. Divyam Vichitra Vibhuda Argya Vimana Sochihi. Divyam Vichitra Vibudhagra Vimana Sochihi. Apuhu Param Mudam Apurvam Upetya Yoga. Apuh Param Mudam Apurvam Upetya Yoga. Maya Balena Munayaha Tat Ataha Vaikuṇṭam. Maya Balena Munayastadato Vaikuṇṭam. Tad Vishwaguru Adhikrutam Bhuvanaika Vandyam. Divyam Vichitra Vibudhagra Vimana Sochihi. Apuh Paramudam Apurvam Upetya Yoga. Maya Balena Munayastadato Vaikuṇṭam. Tad Vishwaguru Adhikrutam Bhuvanaika Vandyam. Divyam Vichitra Vibhudagram Vimana Sochihi. Apuh Paramudam Apurvam Upetya Yoga. Maya Balena Munayastadato Vaikuṇṭam. Then Vishwaguru, by the teacher of the universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Adhikrutam, predominated, Bhuvana, of the planets, Eka, alone, Vandyam, worthy to be worshipped, Divyam, spiritual, Vichitra, highly decorated, Vibhuda Agriya, of the devotees who are the best of the learned, Vimana, of the airplanes, Sochihi, illuminated, Apuhu, attained, Param, the highest, Mudam, happiness, Apurvam, unprecedented, Upetya, having attained, Yogamaya, by spiritual potency, Balena, by the influence, Munayaha, the sages, Tat, Vaikuṇṭha, Ato, that, Vaikuṇṭam, Vishnu. Translation and purport by Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada. Thus the great sages Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana and Sanat-kumāra Upon reaching the above mentioned Vaikuṇṭha in the spiritual world, by dint of their mystic yoga performances, perceived unprecedented happiness. They found that the spiritual sky was illuminated by highly decorated airplanes piloted by the best devotees of Vaikuṇṭha and was predominated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Please repeat the translation. Thus the great sages Sanaka, Sanātana, Sanandana and Sanat-kumāra, upon reaching the above mentioned Vaikuṇṭha in the spiritual world, by dint of their mystic yoga performance, perceived unprecedented happiness. They found that the spiritual sky was illuminated by highly decorated airplanes piloted by the best devotees of Vaikuṇṭha and was predominated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is one without a second. He is above everyone. No one is equal to him, but nor is anyone greater than him. Therefore, he is described here as Vishwaguru. He is the prime living entity of the entire material and spiritual creations and is Bhuvanaika Vandyam, the only worshipable personality in the three worlds. The airplanes in the spiritual sky are self-illuminated and are piloted by great devotees of the Lord. In other words, in the Vaikuṇṭha planets, there is no scarcity of things which are available in the material world. They are available, but they are more valuable because they are spiritual and therefore eternal and blissful. The sages felt an unprecedented happiness because Vaikuṇṭha was not predominated by an ordinary man. The Vaikuṇṭha planets are predominated by expansions of Krishna who are differently named as Madhusudana, Madhava, Narayana, Pradyumna and so on. These transcendental planets are worshipable because the personality of Godhead personally rules them. It is said here that the sages reached the transcendental spiritual sky by dint of their mystic power. That is the perfection of the yoga system. The breathing exercises and disciplines to keep health in proper order are not the ultimate goals of yoga perfection. The yoga system, as generally understood, is Ashtanga Yoga or Siddhi, eightfold perfections in yoga. By dint of perfection in yoga, one can become lighter than the lightest and heavier than the heaviest. One can go wherever he likes and can achieve opulences as he likes. There are 8 such perfections. The rishis, the 4 Kumaras, reached Vaikuṇṭha by becoming lighter than the lightest and thus passing over the space of the material world. Modern mechanical space vehicles are unsuccessful because they cannot go to the highest region of this material creation, and they certainly cannot go to the enter the spiritual sky. But by perfection of the yoga system, one not only can travel through material space, but can surpass material space and enter the spiritual sky. We learn this fact also from an incident concerning Durvasa Muni and Maharaj Ambarisha. It is understood that in 1 year, Durvasa Muni travelled everywhere and went into the spiritual sky to meet Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana. By present standards, scientists calculate that if one could travel at the speed of light, it would take 40,000 years to reach the highest planet of this material world. But the yoga system can carry one without limitation or difficulty. The word Yoga Maya is used in this verse. Yoga Maya Bhalena Vaikuṇṭham, the transcendental happiness exhibited in the spiritual world and all other spiritual manifestations there are made possible by the influence of Yoga Maya, the internal potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Doesn't the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhaktarunda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So here Lord Brahma is explaining the atmosphere of Vaikuṇṭha. So after he started the narration by saying how Kumaras, by the will of the Lord, had entered Vaikuṇṭha. And in next last few 10-12 verses explained about the nature of Vaikuṇṭha. People, planets, atmosphere, birds, trees, who can enter, who is qualified to enter Vaikuṇṭha, who is not qualified to enter Vaikuṇṭha. So from now, in the next 10 verses, Brahma explains how Jaya Vijaya are cursed, the actual impact, what it had happened. Because this was the problem, what demigods had approached Brahma, that the entire universe has been become dark because of tamasa. So what is the cause? The reason has been explained as the perfection concept here. So he said, Tad Vishwaguru Adhikrutam. That Vaikuṇṭha, which is predominated by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he is mentioned as Vishwaguru because he is the spiritual master for everyone. As the Paramatma, he is the first spiritual master for the living entity. He guides every living entity in their destination towards reaching the Supreme Lord. That's why he is Vishwaguru. Bhuvanaika Vandyam. And his speciality is, he is the only worshipable Lord and he is only worthy of worship in the entire material and spiritual worlds. Bhuvanaika Vandyam. Then, Divyam Vichitra Vibhudargya Vimana Sochihi. And there were many transcendental airplanes, Divyam, Vichitra with variegatedness, Vibhuda Argya, which were piloted by the best of the devotees of Vaikuṇṭha. Vimana Sochihi, and that Vimanas were illuminating the entire sky. Means the entire Vaikuṇṭha is illuminated by the effulgence that is coming out of these Vimanas, transcendental Vimanas. Divyam. Then, Apuhu Param Mudam, as they reached this Vaikuṇṭha, Param Mudam, they experience unprecedented happiness. Then, Apurvam Upetya Yoga Balena, how could they come? Apurvam, how could they achieve this? This wonderful thing? Upetya Yoga Balena, Yoga Maya Balena, by their mystic power, by their perfection of their mystic power, they could reach this Vaikuṇṭha. Who reached? Munayaha. Tad ato Vaikuṇṭam. Where did they reach? That Vaikuṇṭha which was predominated by Lord Vishnu. So in that way it is said, the great sages, Munayaha, Sanaka, Sanātana, Sanandana and Sanat-kumāra, upon reaching the above mentioned Vaikuṇṭha, Tad ato Vaikuṇṭam, in the spiritual world by dint of their mystic yoga performance, Yoga Maya Balena, perceived unprecedented happiness. Apuh param mudam apurvam upetya. Then they found that the spiritual sky was illuminated by highly decorated airplanes piloted by the best devotees of Vaikuṇṭha. Divyam Vichitra Vibhudargya Vimana Sochihi. And was predominated by the Supreme Lord. Tad Vishwaguru Adhikrutam Bhuvanaika Vandyam. So next in the purport, Prabhupada explains some of the important points. So Lord is above everyone. No one is equal to or greater than him. Therefore, he is described as Vishwaguru. So each word Prabhupada is explaining what is the impact of that word. Vishwaguru means he is the Supreme Personality. Nobody is equal to or greater than him. Next, he is the prime living entity of the entire material and spiritual worlds. And is Bhuvanaika Vandyam, the only worshipable personality in the three worlds. This is one more quality. The worthy of worship, only the Lord is the worthy of worship in both material and spiritual world. That's why he is Bhuvana Eka Vandyam. He is only worthy of worship. Then, the sages felt an unprecedented happiness because Vaikuṇṭha was not predominated by an ordinary man. See, the atmosphere of the house depends upon the head of the house. The head of house is very liberal and very active and very spontaneous. Everybody in the house will be having the same atmosphere and mood. Yadyad acharati shreshtas. Whatever a best man performs, their entire kingdom will be in that mode. If the Vaikuṇṭha is predominated by the Supreme Lord who is Anandamaya, the entire Vaikuṇṭha is experienced as Anandamaya. Next, the sages reached the transcendental spiritual sky by dint of their mystic power. This is the perfection of yoga system. So actually every angle, every system has a material perspective and a spiritual perspective. So people in the outside world, they get carried away by material perspective. By practice of yoga, they want to attain powers by which they can display to the world. But the sages, they wanted to achieve that powers by which they can connect with the Lord. So the rishis, the four Kumaras, reached Vaikuṇṭha by becoming lighter than the lightest and thus passing over the space of the material world. Say, how could they travel? This is Anima, Lagima, these are the various Shaktis, becoming lighter than the lighter, Lagima, heavier than the heaviest. There are 8 Ashtasiddhis. So by using like Narada Muni, by his spiritual body, he could travel anywhere and everywhere. So the Kumaras were also blessed with such a way that they could travel anywhere within the universe. So that's why they could able to enter the Vaikuṇṭha within this material world. Then Yogamaya Balena Vaikuṇṭam, the transcendental happiness exhibited in the spiritual world and all other spiritual manifestations there are made possible by the influence of Yogamaya. So the entire spiritual world is maintained by Yogamaya, the internal potency of the Lord. So various acharyas have given various references how the Kumaras could enter Vaikuṇṭha. They commented that Yogamaya concept, it is said. Sridhar Swamy explained the word Yogamaya used in this verse may be interpreted to mean either the mystic yoga powers attained by the 4 Kumaras or the spiritual pastime potency of the Supreme Personality of God. See how Kumaras entered Vaikuṇṭha? The starting of this chapter it said, by the will of the Lord they entered Vaikuṇṭha. So in that concept, by the will of the Lord, they could reach Vaikuṇṭha. So it could means that will was inspired by the Supreme Lord so that the sages will enter Vaikuṇṭha and curse this Jaya Vijaya. Because it is said this was a curse which was given by Lakshmi Devi once to Jaya Vijaya, that they will fall from the spiritual world and take birth in this material world. To execute that task, Kumaras were given an inspiration by the Lord to enter Vaikuṇṭha. And Padma Purana also defines what is Vaikuṇṭha. It has given 5 different meanings to Vaikuṇṭha. It says, Mokshadama, the position of liberation, Parampadam, the supreme abode, Lingam, the subtle spiritual realm, Amrutam, the eternal place, and Vishnu Mandiram, the palatial residence of Lord Vishnu. These are the following synonyms for meanings for Vaikuṇṭha definition. So, what is so special in Vaikuṇṭha? What is the difference between material world and spiritual world? In Bhagavad Gita, only a glimpse is explained. In the 15th chapter, 6th verse, Krishna says, Na tad bhashayate suryo, na shashanko na pavakaha, yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. He says, that spiritual world, which is, na bhashyate suryo, you don't require a sun there. Na pavakaha, neither moon. See, in this material world, we require for light either sun or moon or electricity or fire. We require something for light. But Krishna is saying, for the spiritual world, all these things are not required. And once you reach there, yad gatva na nivartante, you will not come back. Tad dhama paramam mama, that my abode is supreme abode. So he gave only a glimpse of spiritual world. But Acharyas have enumerated all these qualities in Bhagavatam perspective, in here and there in the purports. They say Vaikuṇṭha has 5 amazing features. The 5 unique qualities of Vaikuṇṭha. The first one is, in Vaikuṇṭha planets there is no anxiety. The pure definition of Vaikuṇṭha is Vikata Kunta, where there is no anxiety. The second one was, no Maya in Vaikuṇṭha, no material Maya. It is Yoga Maya, no Maha Maya. The third one is, there is no cycle of birth and death in Vaikuṇṭha. There is no repeated birth, no repeated cycle of birth and death in Vaikuṇṭha. Next, Vaikuṇṭha means the abode of the supreme bliss. And no desires, no lamentation in Vaikuṇṭha. These are the 5 unique aspects of Vaikuṇṭha. So Prabhupada elaborates them in various purports. The first one is, Vaikuṇṭha planets have no anxiety. He says, the living entities in Vaikuṇṭha live with no anxiety. Vaikuṇṭha itself means without any anxiety. In the material planets, everyone is full of anxiety. He may be human or an ant or any insignificant. He may be a rich man or very poor man. The anxiety is there. Why? Sada samugdha vigna diyam asad grahat. Because we have accepted the false material body as ourself. We are always this anxiety because when will this body will go away? We are always afraid we may lose this body because of accepting false identification that I am this material body. This is the first reason. Then, no Maya in Vaikuṇṭha. In the spiritual planets, there is no influence of Maya or the departments of existence. Within the body, there are 5 different departments of existence known as Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya and Anandamaya. The 4 are experienced. The first Annamaya, thinking that I am this body, meant only for eating food. Once people rise above this bodily concept, they say, I am not this body, I am mind. They come to the mind platform, intellectual platform. From Annamaya, they rise to Pranamaya, the life air. I am not this body, I am that life air which is sustained in this body. Once they rise above this life air, they come to the platform of mind, intellectual thinking. Then come to the platform of practical realization, Vijnanamaya, consciousness of mental platform. Then finally they understand Anandamaya, the blissful life of knowledge and eternity, which is the Supreme Lord's nature. So by systematic evolution, a living entity has rise up to the platform of Anandamaya, the complete eternal blissful platform. So as said in Vedanta Sutra, Anandamayo Abhyasat, as long as the living entities are situated in the lower 4 stages of life, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya and Vijnanamaya, they are considered to be in the material condition of life. But as soon as one reaches the stage of Anandamaya, he is a liberated soul. See some of the symptoms of a yogi who has achieved liberation. If you read 5th chapter, one who is illuminated inside, one who is happy inside, one who is awakened inside. So that, see, that happiness, that awareness, the Brahma Bhuta platform, that you are this, no, you are not this material body, you are that eternal spiritual soul, which is a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. If you realize that position, then you are in that absolute Anandamaya platform. Next. No birth death cycle in Vaikuṇṭha. So there is no cycle of birth and death, no cycle of misery. In the Supreme Abode, there is no old age or disease also. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, these are the 4 symptoms of material world. In the spiritual world, they don't have any traces of these elements also in the spiritual world. In the material world, everyone is trying not to die, not to become old, not to get disease. This is natural because by nature, we are not subjected to these things. Thus our endeavor, our activity is struggling to become deathless, birthless and diseaseless. The Supreme Lord is Satchit Ananda Vigraha, eternal, blissful, knowledgeable. Similarly, we being part and parcel of the Lord are also of same quality, and we are suffering because we have accepted our association with this material world. Krishna explains this in 15.7. Mamaivamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. You are all my amshas, Krishna is saying. Mamaiva eva amshaha. You are my amsha, you are my part and parcel. Jiva loke, who are these? All the living entities. Mamaivamsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. They are eternal living entities. But what is the problem? Manasashtani indriyani. Because they have accepted this mind with 5 senses as themselves, prakriti sthani karshate. They are bound by this material world. So next, 4th one, Vaikuṇṭha, the abode of eternal bliss. In Vaikuṇṭha, everyone is full of transcendental bliss. Anandamaya abhyasat. By nature, they are Anandamaya, always joyful. Also in the material world, we have become free from material concept of life. When one is aware of the fact that I am not this body, I am the spirit soul, he actually becomes joyfully because he acquires that spiritual quality. So as soon as we become liberated from this bodily concept of life itself, we become that unprecedented happiness. We attain our original state. Sat Chit Ananda. Eternal, full of knowledge and full of happiness. And last, no desires and no lamentation in Vaikuṇṭha. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na sochiti na kankshati. This again Krishna explained in 14th chapter, 26th sloka. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, that who has achieved that liberated platform, Brahma Bhuta, he is na sochati, he does not lament, na kankshati, he aspires for something. So there is no desire, there is no lamentation. In the material world, one who is not God conscious is always hankering, and if he loses something, he is always lamenting. But in the Vaikuṇṭha, when you are under the control of this, under the surrendered state of the Lord, the hankering and lamentation end. Because where there is God, there is no question of lamentation. Because everything is fulfilled. by the presence of the Lord. So what is the thing for us to aspire for something more? Like for example, Dhruva Maharaj. What is his prayer? He wanted to have a kingdom which none of his family members have ruled. And who are his family members? His father, grandfather Swayambhu Manu, who is in charge of this entire earthly planet. And his great grandfather is Lord Brahma, who is in charge of this material world. And he wanted a kingdom which is greater than Brahma, which is practically possible. Is it possible? This is unrealistic. To accept a position beyond Brahma in this material world is unrealistic. But Dhruva was so adamant. He wanted to achieve, by the blessings of Narada Muni, he got the opportunity to meditate upon the Lord. In 6 months, he had done so much perfect yoga practice. The Supreme Lord appeared before him. And when he wanted to offer prayers, he being a small boy of 5 years, 6 years old, he could not utter the word because out of ecstasy he was stunned. Out of inexperience, he could not offer any prayer. The Lord, by touching his transcendental conch shell on the head of Dhruva Maharaj, he inspired him with Vedic knowledge. And that last verse, which is quoted by Acharyas from Hari Bhakti Shuddhodaya. What is that verse? Swamin Krutardosmin Varamna Yache Sthana Abhilashi Tapasi Stitoham. It says, Sthana Abhilashi. I was aspiring for a place. Sthana Abhilashi Tapasi Stitoham, for which I had engaged in this tapasya. Sthana Abhilashi Tapasi Stitoham Tvam Praptavan Deva Munindra Guhyam. Yashishi Radha Godevi. And I had achieved you by the mercy of my spiritual master, Munindra Guhyam, your most confidential personality. Kachan Vichinvan Apidivya Ratnam. I was looking for glass pieces. See, when we were small, whenever these some things like this fall, no, we used to think they were diamonds. We used to accumulate them, small pieces, thinking that they were original diamonds because they are cut like diamonds. But if you take to the shop, the person will say, this is glass piece, throw it away. See, the children, they only think that glass pieces are something great. He is thinking, I was searching for glass pieces. Kachan Vichinvan Apidivya Ratnam, I found a diamond there. When I found the diamond, Swamin Krutardosmin Varamna Yache, why I want something else? When I got the diamond, what is need for this? All these glass pieces. I found you, I am satisfied with you. I don't want anything else. See, that that hankering, na sochati, na kankshati, that vanished as soon as you came in touch with the Lord. So these are the qualities of Vaikuṇṭha. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained the nature of Vaikuṇṭha and the spiritual world in conversation with various devotees. In Chaitanya Charitamrita he says, Prakriti Rapara Paravyoma Name Dama. Beyond this material world, Pare, there is the other side. Paravyoma Nama, the spiritual world. Krishna Vigraha Aiche Vibhuti Adi Gunavan. Like Lord Krishna himself, it possesses all transcendental attributes such as the 6 appearances. What is the nature of Vaikuṇṭha? As a Lord, Supreme Lord Bhagavan has the 6 appearances, Vaikuṇṭha is also full with all the 6 appearances. Because Vaikuṇṭha is not different from Lord Krishna or Lord Vishnu. Sarvaga Ananta Vibhu Vaikuṇṭadi Dama Krishna Krishna Avatarera Tahani Vishrama. That region is all pervading, Sarvaga, Ananta, infinite, Vibhu, supreme, and it is the residence of Krishna, Krishna Avatarera Tahani Vishrama, and it is the residence of Lord Krishna and his various incarnations. Tahar Upari Bhage Krishna Loka Kyati. On the above of all the Vaikuṇṭhas is Goloka Vrindavana. Dwaraka, Mathura, Gokula, Trividitva Sthiti. In that 3 gradations are there. Above Vaikuṇṭha, there is Dwaraka, above that is Mathura, above that is Goloka Vrindavana. Sarvopari Shri Gokula Vrajaloka Dama. Above all the spiritual world, the topmost planet is Shri Gokula Vrajaloka Dama. Shri Goloka Svetadvipa Vrindavana Nama. It has 3 names. Goloka Vrindavana has 3 names. It is called as Goloka, Shvetadvipa and Vrindavana. Sarvaga Ananta Vibhu Krishna Tanu Sama Upariyado Vyapyache Nahika Niyama. Like the transcendental body of Lord Krishna, the Gokula is also all pervading, Sarvaga, infinite, Ananta, Vibhu, supreme. Upariyada Vyapyache Nahika Niyama. There are no restrictions, Nahika Niyama. It can expand bottom and top, anywhere it can expand. So Jiva Goswami quotes one reference in his Sandarbha. He says, Yayata bhuvi vartante puryo bhagavata priyaha tasata shanti vaikunte tattal lilardam ardataha. The abodes of Lord in the material world such as Dwaraka, Mathura and Gokula are facsimile representing the abodes of the Godhead in the kingdom of God, Vaikuṇṭha Dhama. Like, see, facsimiles means representatives of the originals. So, by being in touch, we will be almost like, there is US and India, there is an US consulate. If you enter US consulate, Indian rules will not apply there. It is US state laws will apply there. Even though that is not in the US, but US laws will apply because that area has been designated as US based category. Understand the same principle. Vaikuṇṭha and the material world, the replicas of the Vaikuṇṭha in this material world. Even though they are in the material world, they are not part of this material world. They are facsimiles of that Vaikuṇṭha planet. That's what Prabhupada, Jiva Goswami is quoting. And he also, in one purport also Prabhupada explains about the airplanes and the condition in the Vaikuṇṭha. In Vaikuṇṭha there are airplanes, but they make no tumultuous sounds. So one difference between material airplane to spiritual airplane. Here one airplane is going nearby, you can't sit at all. You have to block your ears. So much sound. In Vaikuṇṭha airplanes there is no sound. Material airplanes are not at all safe. They can fall down and crash at any time. For matter is imperfect in every respect. In the spiritual sky, the airplanes are also spiritual and they are spiritually brilliant and bright. These airplanes do not fly business executives, politicians or planning commissions as passengers, nor do they carry cargo or postal bags, for these are all unknown there. These planets are for pleasure trips only. These planes are for pleasure trips only, and the residents of Vaikuṇṭha fly in them with their heavenly, beautiful, fairy-like concerts. Therefore, these airplanes full of residents of Vaikuṇṭha, both male and female, increase the beauty of the spiritual sky. We cannot imagine how beautiful they are, but their beauty may be compared to the clouds in the sky accompanied by silver branches of electric lightning. The spiritual sky of Vaikuṇṭha Loka is always decorated in that way. So we saw the scenario, how Prabhupada was explaining about the Vaikuṇṭha atmosphere and Vaikuṇṭha planes. Prabhupada in one more place he explained about this nature of Vaikuṇṭha. Then further he says, Paravyoma madhye kari swarupa prakasha narayana rupe karena vivida vilasa. In the Vaikuṇṭha planets, the Lord manifests his identity as Narayana and performs pastimes in various ways. Vaikuṇṭha bediya eka ache jalanidhi ananta aparatara nahika avadi. Surrounding Vaikuṇṭha there is a mass of water which is endless, unfathomed and unlimited. Vaikuṇṭera prithvi adi shakala chinmaya mayika bhutera rati janma nahi hoya. The earth, water, fire, air and ether of Vaikuṇṭha are all spiritual. Material elements are not found there. So these are the descriptions of Vaikuṇṭha as explained by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So then one more thing, how very next week we will be celebrating this Govardhan Puja. One of the ardent devotee of the Lord. How Govardhana manifested first in the spiritual world is explained as a small story in conversation in Garga Samhita. So once King Bahulashva asked Narada Muni, Govardhana is the king of all mountains and is very dear to Lord Krishna. So there is no other holy place on the earth equivalent to Govardhana hill. Kindly narrate to us when this great mountain appeared on earth from the heart of the Lord. So how Govardhana descended to this material world was questioned, and Narada Muni started relating. He said, Lord Krishna is transcendental to the material nature. He is eternal and free from all contamination. He is beyond time and Maya cannot influence him. He first created Sheshanaga through his mind, who is as white as lotus stem. See how spiritual world got created in a systematic way. Narada Muni was explaining. Tad vussange mahaloko goloko loka vanditaha yam prapya bhakti samyuktaha punar avartate nahi. He said that Goloka is loka vanditaha. The same thing what we saw here. Bhuvanaika vandyam. That spiritual abode is loka vanditaha, which is worshipped by all. And yam prapya bhakti samyuktaha, those who are engaged in devotional service, those who attain that Goloka Vrindavana, punar avartate nahi, they will not come back to this material world. Then, the Ganges which travels to the material world was born from the lotus feet of the Lord. Yamuna, the best of the rivers, was born from a turban, and many flowers and ornaments were manifested from Krishna's left shoulder. The splendid Rasa dance circle made of gold and jewels and decorated with many ornaments was manifested from Krishna's ankles. Filled with assembly houses, courtyards, pathways, pavilions, peacocks, bees and cooing cuckoos, flooded with sweetness of spring and decorated with many lakes, a forest grove was manifested from Krishna's legs, which is called Vrindavana. The Vrindavana, the best of forests, was manifested from Krishna's knees, and Leela Sarovalar lake was manifested from his thighs. A golden place splendid with golden jewels was manifested from his hips. Many flowering Madhavi vines manifested from the lines of hair on his abdomen. These vines were filled with many different birds and decorated with buzzing bees. Burdened with many flowers and fruits, they bowed down as if they are many saintly girls. From the lotus navel, many thousands of lotuses were manifested. They shone very splendidly in many lakes of Krishna's transcendental abode. From the three folds of skin at the Lord's waist was manifested a gentle and cooling breeze. From his collar was manifested the cities of Mathura and Dwaraka. From Krishna's arms were manifested 8 friends headed by Sridama. From the Lord's wrist, Nanda was manifested, and from the Lord's hands, Vupananda was manifested. From Krishna's shoulder blades, all the Vrishabhanus were manifested, and from the hairs of Krishna's body, all the Gopas were manifested. From Krishna's mind manifested the cows and bulls, and from the Krishna's intelligence were manifested grass, plants and shrubs. From the Krishna's left shoulder was manifested a golden splendor that was his beloveds, Radha, Shri, Bhu and Viraja. From Radha's arms were manifested her friends Lalita and Vishaka. Her gopi assistants were manifested from the hairs of Radha's body. In this way, Lord manifested the world of Goloka. Upon creating this beautiful Goloka, Lord Krishna resides with Sri Radhika there. And further it says, once Radharani asked to Krishna, Sri Radha Uvacha, Yadi rase prasonnosi mama prema jagatpate tadaham prarthanam tvamtu karomi manasi stitam. He says, O Lord of the three worlds, Jagatpate, if you are pleased with me, yadi rase prasannosmi, if you are pleased with me, mama prema, because of my love in this rasa dance, tadaham prarthayam tvamtu, I am having a small request from you, karomi manasi stitam, so that there is a desire in my heart that I would be placed before you. Then the Lord said, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Icham Varaya Vamoru. So whatever your desire, oh my dear beautiful lady, I will sanction it. Yate manasi vartate nadeyam yadi yadvastu premna dasyami tatpriya. You may ask whatever your heart desire. Oh beloved, if I have not already given it, I will lovingly give whatever you wish. Then Radha Uvacha, Vrindavane divya nikunja parshve Krishna tate rasa rasaya yogyam Rahastalam tvam kurutam manojnam manoratayam mama deva deva. She said, O my dear Lord, in this splendid Vrindavana forest, in a beautiful secluded place by the Yamuna shore, please make an arena for a nectar rasa dance. O Lord of the Lords, this is my desire. She wanted a private place where she can associate with the Lord and enjoy the rasa dance. Then the Lord promised, so be it, by saying Tadastu. And the Lord meditated upon within his heart, and within his heart the transcendental happiness which is there within him manifested outside in a huge illuminated substance which took the form of a huge mountain. And it became the Govardhana hill. And Govardhana hill became so huge, it started expanding everywhere. The entire Goloka Vrindavana became covered by this huge mountain. And the people and all the devotees became anxious that this is going to cover the entire Vrindavana. Then Krishna tapped him. He said, "What is the urgency, my dear boy? Why are you expanding so much? Calm down, calm down." So then it became restricted to a size. What is the size of that Govardhana when it manifested in the spiritual world? So as the gopis watched, Krishna's love in the form of fire and water came from his part, and its sprouts came up from the ground. Falling on the ground, that love grew into a great mountain filled with many caves and swiftly moving streams, beautiful Kadamba, Bakula, Ashoka trees, and a great network of flowering vines, opulent with Mandara and Kunda flowers, filled with graceful birds. In a single moment, that mountain became 8,000 miles wide and 8 billion miles long. So huge. It was like Ananta Shesha himself. It was 4 million miles tall. And it is 4 billion miles tall eternally. It was like a gigantic elephant. It had 180 million mile tall peaks. And it was like a great palace with many golden domes. So it is one more name of Govardhana is also known as Shatashrunga, a hillock with 100 peaks. The mountain expanded as much as its heart wished. So then the Lord said, "Why do you expand so much? You have covered the entire realm. Why do you not stop at once?" In this way, Krishna stopped the mountain from going further. Grazing at this best of the mountain, Lord Krishna's beloved Radha was very pleased, and she enjoyed pastimes with Krishna in a secluded place on that mountain. In that way, Goloka Vrindavana manifested from the heart of the Lord. So Sri Jiva Goswami had explained how Govardhana serves the Lord in various capacities. He said, Govardhana offers comfortable jeweled bedecked seat to the Lord to sit. Birds residing on the trees welcome the Lord by singing melodiously. He offers soft grasses, lotuses to the Lord, waterfalls offer padya, kusha grass offers arghya, water in the lakes is used for performing achamana. The cows, when they just gave birth to calves, the milk mixed with the honey coming from the trees offered as madhuparka to the Lord. Many beautiful waterfalls which provide water to bathe. The cloths in the form of tree skins. The perfume in the form of harichandana, haritala and geru. Fragrant flowers like malati. Dhoop made of aguru and devadharu. Lamps in the form of shining precious stones. Decorating items such as peacock feathers, small conch shells, various types of fruits and roots which give immense pleasure to Krishna, tambula which freshens the mouth after meals, arati offers chameli flowers, umbrella offered by trees, dance of peacocks and their singing as entertainment for the Lord, flute-like sound made by wind flowing through the bamboos. This is like the Shodashopa Upachara, how Govardhana was serving the Lord with all the 16 categories of elements. So in that way, even though Govardhana is the expansion of the Lord, but feeling as a servant of the Lord, he serves the Lord in the best of the capacities. That's why gopis worship Govardhana as Haridasa Varyaha. He is the best of the Haridasas. So in that way, Govardhana is celebrated across the world as the best of the devotees. So we should also pray that we get the shelter of the best of the devotees so that we could also advance in the service of the devotional service under the guidance of our spiritual master. We'll stop here. Any questions or doubts? ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जगत गुरु शील प्रभुपाद की हिताय गौर प्रेमानंद.
శ్రీకృష్ణుణ్ణి చేరుకోవడానికి కృష్ణ భక్తిని అందరికీ అందించటానికి బృందావనం వైపు ఉరకలేస్తున్న యమునోత్రి. విష్ణుపాదమే తన పుట్టినిల్లుగా కైలాసం చేరుకోవడానికి పరుగులు తీస్తున్న గంగోత్రి. కురుక్షేత్ర ఘోరహత్యా పాపం శంకరుణ్ణి శాంతపరచడం లక్ష్యంగా పాండవులు నిర్మించిన కేదార్నాథ్. సమస్త సాధు పుంగవులకు ఋషులకు ఆధ్యాత్మిక సాధనకు స్ఫూర్తినిచ్చే నరనారాయణులను నడయాడిన ప్రదేశం బద్రీనాథ్.
హరే కృష్ణ గోల్డెన్ టెంపుల్ వారి మరో అపురూప కానుక హరే కృష్ణవాణి ఆధ్యాత్మిక మాసపత్రిక. ఇప్పుడు మొబైల్ యాప్ ద్వారా కూడా సులభంగా పత్రికలు చదువుకునే సౌకర్యం, వార్షిక సభ్యత్వం, భగవద్గీత, భాగవత ప్రవచనాలు, స్ఫూర్తి సందేశాలు, ఇంకా మరెన్నో సదుపాయాలతో హరే కృష్ణవాణి మొబైల్ యాప్ నేడే డౌన్లోడ్ చేసుకోండి. మరిన్ని వివరాల కోసం కాల్ చేయండి 9133